Hello there, my name is Eric and I'm making a relaxing city block building game called ShantyTown. Since the last devlog, I've gone a bit wild in creating the world around the playable areas, as well as making foundational changes to how the code works. As you may or may not have noticed, I changed the background buildings to look a bit more futuristic. Then, I changed their color to be less blue-red and more of a white, to contrast the green grass below.
They're the same picture.
I added some more detail to the large pipe, which was mentioned in a previous devlog, and added more smaller pipes and a high-speed train within it. I then properly terraced my farms and added some palm trees. I had a lot of fun painting these around, and I may have gone a little bit too far. These models are just borrowed from my previous game Kainga, but I removed their textures and replaced it with full color to match the current aesthetic better. They look pretty good with the wind shader I created in another devlog. The train that was added was to show off the purpose of the giant pipe in the first place, and settle it into the world that I've created. I was really happy with how it added a much needed bit of movement into the map, so I thought I'd go ahead and add some other vehicles like cars and buses. In the background, there's also some smaller and larger animated robots as well. In case you're wondering how I came up with ideas like this, I tend to mash up inspirations from all over the place and see what the result is. This worked really well in my previous game Kainga, which is set in a more ancient timeline, but I wanted to create some interesting creatures.
¿Por qué no los dos?
I could take aspects of recognizable animals and combine them into something unique. For ShantyTown, I decided to follow the same strategy. For the air cars, I took some Asian-inspired boats and added helicopter blades to make them fly. To me, this feels like a good mix of current and futuristic technology and makes something that's not realistic, but it's believable.
They fly now! They fly now!
The giant walkers in the background I created by mixing up egg harvesters from the Matrix and those Japanese sake barrels.
No. I don't believe it.
I feel like sci-fi has a good opportunity to play around with scale, so I'm trying to push that boundary as well. Personally, I'm not really a fan of doing keyframe animations, so I made these walkers procedurally animate their legs and learned about Unreal Engine's control rig while doing so. These new vehicles combined with the day-night cycle and some weather effects makes things look pretty good. I feel like I've been prototyping ideas for so long that I finally decided it's time to clean up old code. Overall, there was a lot more to clean up than I anticipated. The results are visually not very noticeable, but I've created a new placement system that is more flexible, readable, and clean. Plus, I added this box to show where you're placing objects and used linear interpolation to move the objects towards the box location, which feels really satisfying. I then added some ugly buttons on the side to help you easily parse which houses are still looking for something to upgrade. This is a pretty subtle change, but it really is a good quality of life improvement, and something recommended by playtesters. As most everything I worked on besides these changes isn't very visual, I thought I'd dive into a topic I'd spent some time thinking about. There's something I like to call the dream of a game, which is, in essence, a promise to the players on what their experience will be when they play it. This is probably true for movies and books as well, but I'll stick to what I know best.
You have my undivided attention.
In my mind, for a game to be enjoyable and received positively, it first needs to present a good fantasy, and then it needs to back that up with mechanics and gameplay that fulfill on that fantasy. These two things combine to make the game's dream. With around 50 new games getting released on Steam every single day, competition for attention has never been higher. However, standout indie game hits have been making record sales and getting more attention than ever, as the desire for better graphics has long peaked. Let me explain what I mean about a good dream in a game using some well-known titles. If you want to play a rough and tough cowboy outlaw in the Wild West lassoing up alligators, there's no better game than Red Dead Redemption. That's a solid dream in itself. In Civilization, you build an empire from a Stone Age tribe and manage every aspect of it into the modern age and beyond. This is a pretty attractive concept. Not all dreams of game have to be large. In Unpacking, you unpack moving boxes and put stuff where they belong. It's strangely compelling. All three of these games have very good fantasies, but what's important is they all fulfill on those fantasies 100%. The dream of the game is something that the players can instantly be interested in by letting them imagine the experience they're having while playing it. The games I just mentioned are also mechanically very good games, but this is not always the case. Some games like Starfield or Skull and Bones have great premises, but they fail to live up to that fantasy. Being an interstellar explorer or a pirate ship captain are both fantastic ideas, but if the game doesn't deliver on that promise, and it doesn't feel like you're doing what you told yourself you were able to do, then there's an emptiness that can't be ignored.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Other games like Balatros, Slay the Spire, or even Tetris have really obscure fantasies, but they're carried by their fantastic mechanics. In this case, the premise of a mechanical challenge is part of that dream. I mean, what is even going on here? Who knows? But it's a really great game. There are dozens of games that come out every year, even AAA games, that do not either fulfill well enough on their fantasy or their mechanics, and are never considered by most of the gaming audience and quickly forgotten. This is something I think Kainga does really well. It creates a unique dream of a game that gets potential players excited for their possibilities. Kainga promises to let players build weird villages in a weird land. They battle their tribes, survive against the environment and the creatures in this world. And I think the game really fulfills on that promise. Actually, I think that promise is so well fulfilled that many of its flaws are overlooked and forgiven. This is something that Elder Scrolls games have gotten away with for so long because the dream of their game is so solid.
This is my house. Get out of the way.
How you present this dream to the players will dictate what their expectations will be. My most popular posts about Kainga were this crab with a city on its back, which was actually faked, but clearly shows weird villages in a weird land as a focus. It is rare, but when a giant crab comes out of the ground and carries your people away, it's a moment of extreme satisfaction, and it's actually worth sharing.
It's happening. So look. Oh my god. It's a giant crab. So the festival summoned a giant crab, and now we're on his back.
That's what was promised, and I got it. ShantyTown's dream is surprisingly parallel to Kainga, where I hope to get players excited about building weird towns in weird, albeit semi-futuristic Asian-inspired lands. The purpose of the game wasn't always this, and it started with the premise of building dense but cozy urban environments only. However, with the influx of recent cozy builders, I thought I'd take advantage of my creative world and showcase something a little bit more unusual. So that's why I've been spending a lot of time creating this wider world, so I can more easily give the visual image of the world you'll be building in as a player. But every decision has to go along with those expectations. The art style is clean and colorful, so players know that it's a stress-free environment. The lack of any timers or resources enforce the casual mentality, and the wild landscapes encourage you to build in an unorganized manner. Overall, I think everything's going in the right direction. After the object placement recode is complete, I'll start focusing on making each new environment interesting and unique, and solidifying the player's journey throughout this area. But I think that's enough for now. I hope you enjoyed the video and let me know what you think below. What games have you played that have absolutely lived up to their fantasy? Are there any games that you were super excited about, but when you started playing it, you were left disappointed? Why do you think that was? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear and have a little bit of a conversation. Also, thanks to the patrons who support the development, and viewers like you.
Viewers like you. Thank you.
Take care out there. Bye-bye.